Hello, everybody. Wade Wacker with Reasons for Hope. We're starting a weekly show on money, and this will be our first show. We're actually doing weekly shows. Carl's doing shows, Dan's doing shows, Juan's doing shows. My show is going to be on Wednesday, and we're going to talk about money. This will be the first show that we tried live online with YouTube. So I've been with Reasons for Hope since we started in 2011. Been blessed to be a part of the organization. Technically, have a title called CEO, but we all know who the true CEO is, and that's not me, that's him. So I have been a financial advisor since 1991. I actually did my first investment in June of 1987. It's a whole nother story I'd like to tell you sometime. So I've seen the 1987 crash. I've seen the Y2K issue. I've seen the dot-com bubble in 2000. I've seen the 2008 debt crisis and real estate crisis, and now we've seen this crisis that involves with the coronavirus. Each time you go through one of those crises, it seems different. The press will tell you it's different. And yes, this one is different. This epidemic is different. But from a financial perspective, this too shall pass. We will get through this. The resiliency of America will win out. What this does and will do is that capitalism will call out bad operators. People who do not run businesses well will ultimately fail. What this did is it's going to take those people and accelerate their bad operations. So for those that companies or people who did business had high debt or low cash reserves or low liquidity, they are going to be hurt, and they're going to be hurt quickly, and it's going to be in trouble. So this is a little bit different when it comes to that because it's going to accelerate that. But in the end, from an investment standpoint and a stock market standpoint, this too shall pass. We will figure this out. When we look at investing, I'm just going to address this before we get into the topic that we had this episode for. I do want to help you understand that the key risk factor to investing is time. You must understand time. If you have time, you can invest. Okay, you invest in companies that are going to ultimately make money, Apple, Coca-Cola, etc. Okay, if you do not have time, you cannot invest. You cannot afford to take that risk. It is too risky to take money and say, hey, I'm going to try to invest for a short period of time. Our timeline is 5 years. You need to take 5 years of your income and have put away. If you need your money within 5 years, you cannot be invested into the stock market. That is so important to understand. So I just wanted to kind of relate to you on where the stock market, it's going to be an ouch. Those March quarterly, first quarter statements, when you look at them, you're going to gulp. You're going to get that funny feeling in your stomach, and you're going to go, wow, should I get out? Even advisors, we think that. When you look at that statement go down, as much as it's going to go down, it's natural. It's normal to think, oh my goodness, do I need to stay in? Am I going to lose everything? But in our system, in the greatest country in the world, in America, we'll get through this. So I urge you not to panic. I urge you, if you have more than 5 years, to stay in. So that being said, I want to get into the topic that we're here today to talk about, and that's cash reserves and debt. It is amazing how much the Bible does talk about money. 2,350 verses in the Bible talk about money. 15% of what Jesus talked about was money, and 11 out of the 39 parables were about money. So Jesus knew. He knew that money was, is, and will be very, very, very important tomorrow. And the reason why he knew that is he knew that money would be something that could keep people from selling out for him. If you have it, he didn't say it's very tough for a rich man to get into heaven for no reason. It is really, really tough because money can become an idol. Even for us as financial advisors, when we always are striving to want to do more for our clients, to have clients do, instead of 12%, let's try to get them 14%. Okay, it is so easy to want things. Our society has done an incredible job of teaching us how to spend and want instead of teaching us on what we should have. Okay, so Jesus knew that was going to be a big issue. So today, what this does is the situation at hand actually magnifies the two things that I wanted to talk to you about today, and that's cash reserves and debt. If you do not have cash reserves and you have trouble in your health or getting laid off, as some of you may experience here in the next 2 to 3 to 4 weeks, if you do not have cash reserves, you can get in trouble. And if you have too much debt, then that burden will get you in too much trouble. So I wanted to start this series with two of the most common issues that people have trouble with, and that's cash reserves and debt. Let's talk about cash reserves first. First of all, we as a society have done an incredibly bad job of teaching kids about finances. We need to do a better job of training people to take their finances and run it like a business. They need to know their expenses and what they are on a monthly basis. If I were to ask people, hey, what's your monthly expenses, and do you have 3 to 6 months? Most people cannot answer the question on what exactly their expenses are. We need to start knowing that answer. So if an advisor comes to you and says, hey, what's your monthly expenses? Do you have those 3 months? You can say, yeah, my monthly expenses are X, and I have this much put away. So we need to start and there's a lot of software programs out there like Mint.com, Quicken Software, Microsoft Money used to have a program out there, but there's a lot of financial software programs that will track, and now your banks are even starting to do that with their consolidated software where you can easily track that. You need to know that. Then once you know that answer, you need to have 3 to 6. I personally like 6. Okay, there are no exceptions. You have to have that to get through those times. Normally speaking, 6 months will give you time to get back on your feet, find another job, another avenue, etc. So cash reserves, it's rather simple, but unfortunately, not a lot of people get to that point where they have those cash reserves. Debt. 51 verses in the Bible specifically deal with debt. It is an extremely, extremely burdenful thing. If you have too much of it, you can be crushed. Okay, you can be nervous. You can barely get from paycheck to paycheck because you got to pay student loan debt. You got to pay credit card debt. You got to pay your house debt. So debt can be a burden that ruins marriages, keeps people in bad moods, creates anxiety, creates depression. So debt is something that has to be managed well. We do a terrible job. Our society has taught people to want, to need. I need this. I need the best phone. I need the best this. I need the fastest internet. Okay? I need the coin to buy character X or whatever it is. Society teaches it, so you have to be very disciplined when it comes to debt. Now, there's good debt and there's bad debt. But first of all, I'm going to talk to you about a couple verses about debt in the Bible. Proverbs 22:7. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. The debtor is debt. The debtee is debtor to the lender. So it is important to understand that that person borrowing the money has control over you. Do not, Proverbs 22:26-27, do not be one of those who shakes hands in a pledge, one of those who is surety for debts. If you have nothing with which to pay, why should he take away your bed from under you? Okay, what this verse is telling you is that if you don't have means to pay, the person that gives you the money has every right to take possessions. That's their right. They borrowed you the money. So if you can't pay it, you can't take the debt. And then finally, Romans 13:8. Owe no one anything except to love one another, for he who loves another has fulfilled the law. So in other words, don't go into debt if possible. Now, there is good debt and bad debt. Good debt. Good debt. Good debt in our society, house debt, it can be good debt. It is very important to have a good, safe, quality home to live on. So having house debt is okay. Now, The percentage that we like seeing as far as house debt is 30% of your income. Do not have a mortgage payment. And that's mortgage payment, homeowners insurance, and property taxes. Do not have a payment that goes over 30% of what you make. Okay? Anything over that is considered bad debt. Okay? A business investment is considered good debt. Borrowing money to start a business or in business that you're going to try to make money, that's good debt. You're trying to multiply money in using a business, so that's good debt. Now, this one's a tough subject. I'm going to put it in the column in good debt, and you'll see it in the other column in bad debt. College debt. It is unreasonable for a lot of people to be able to pay for college completely before they get out. You must strive to, but it is unrealistic to get it all paid for. So if you have a little debt, keyword little, a college degree is so important in our society. You need this to get hired by many, many, many companies. Therefore, if you have a little college debt, it's okay. Now, we suggest no more than $10,000 per year, and that's even a lot. Okay, but you must, if you can't, if the school that you want to go to is going to be more than that, and you're going to accumulate more than that debt, I'm sorry, you need to go to a community college, or you need to go to a public school that you can have no more than $10,000 a year. Go to college debt. If you have more, it becomes a burden. The job you will get, most likely, you will not be able to pay that off in a reasonable amount of time. So those are examples of good debt. Now let's talk about bad debt. Not going to be many surprises here, but most people don't stay disciplined. Credit cards. You cannot have credit card debt. It's something that you cannot have. Everybody knows that credit card debt, in fact, you have to have credit cards to rent a car. Use a credit card, but make sure that you can pay that off in 30 days. Do not go into interest paying on those credit cards. It just does not pay off. The other thing, that bad debt, and this is where we see it a lot, is cars, snowmobiles, furniture, second homes, and I'll explain college in a second. Basically, a use asset is this: something that you use that will depreciate extremely fast, and at the end of its life has very little value. Okay, a car. Buy a car, it's going to depreciate the second you take it off the lot. Then as you drive it, it depreciates. It will become worth nothing if you drive it long enough. 2, snowmobiles, ATVs, any of the things of the such. Those are used assets. Those will go down in value very fast. They will have very little value. Furniture, second homes. In fact, we as a society have gotten to the point now that if you don't have a second home, you're considered poor. You can't leverage second homes. It's a use asset. So if you can't afford to buy it in cash, you can't afford a second home. And the last thing I did put on there is college. You'll see it on the good debt. It's also on the bad debt. You cannot go in debt of more than $40,000 over a 4-year period. You just cannot do that. Now, there are exceptions. You can be going to school to become a doctor or a chiropractor or something like that, where your income will allow you to pay more debt off. But even then, you have to manage that. Coming out of college with more than $40,000 of debt will hurt you. You must understand that going into that much college debt, there are enough available things to go to get a college degree that do not cost that. Community college, online courses, public schools, okay? Or if you get scholarships but come out of college with less than $10,000 a year. So those are the 2 topics that I wanted to talk to you about today. In regards to setting up. If you look at a good financial situation, it's a pyramid, and you want to make sure that you have your base of your pyramid strong. And having your base of your pyramid strong, make sure you have good cash reserves and you have very little debt. Then you can branch up to the next phases of your finances, which we'll get into more in other episodes. So I just want to close with this. It is a stressful time. What is happening today is unprecedented. We as a country are going into a recession. It will happen. It has to happen with this many things shutting down. We don't know how long this is going to take. We hope and pray that it will be short term, but we don't know for sure. But we do know that we are resilient and we will come back. So to try to take the positive out of this situation, just maybe we can get back to the basics. You know, we as Christians have seen the stats. We have seen that that the number of atheists or agnostics or the people going away from their faith are growing. The amount of people going to church is dropping. 65 to 70% of our youth are leaving the church after they leave high school. We see those stats. You know, when you get a society that is continually materialistic, people forget to get back to the basics. And we, as Christians, have to help people understand that the true inheritance, all these resources that we have, are the Lord's. Okay, whether people think that or not, they are. And with that being said, we must understand that we have to get back to the point that we put things in order. Faith in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, our family, and then our friends. We get those three things put first as the base of our pyramid. We can then work back. Maybe, just maybe, this event will get us back to that. Instead of looking for what we don't have, we'll start looking for what we do have. Disconnected.
It's fine. I was just watching it.
Yeah, disconnected. Now
What
it's
do you mean
connected.
disconnected?
It disconnected and now it's back.
Okay. So first of all, go to YouTube. Did you hit stop streaming on OBS? Do that quick.